Steve here. It's the show where I answer your questions, and this week my first question comes from Lucas Hackett. Hey Steve, by any means, which episode of Batman the Animated Series do you think is both the best and the worst? Me, I basically enjoy any episode where Harley Quinn is featured, knowing how much I got a crush for her. I'm not gonna lie, Steve, Harley completes me. So, care to share with us your opinion? Yeah, there's not really anything all that important going on in the world at the moment. No pressing issues to tackle up front in the video. So let's start out with a really relevant, hard-hitting question. What's your favorite Batman the Animated Series episode? By the way, just want to note, okay, Batman mug, Superman shirt. I'm also a Red Sox and an Orioles fan, so there you go. Favorite, I'm just saying my choices and my tastes make no sense. Favorite Batman the Animated Series episode is probably Baby Doll. I have always loved that episode. I've loved that episode from when I first saw it when it originally aired. When I was, well, how old was I when that episode first aired? 14, 15, something like that. I mean, it's one of the most psychologically complex episodes of that entire show. And that ending where she sort of is hugging Batman's ankles and saying, "I didn't mean to," just rips me apart. It's a really, really good episode. Least favorite episode, maybe Holiday Nights. The one where it's three stories, three Christmas-themed stories, and one of them is... And it's a Harley Quinn episode, so I apologize. I don't mean to attack your your soulmate here, but it's a segment where Batman is fighting Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy, and there's a scene of them like in a department store, and they're trying on clothes. They're doing like the romantic comedy shopping montage, and it's just atrocious. It's just awful. It's one of the worst things I think Batman the Animated Series ever did, and I always sort of point automatically to that episode as what's the worst episode. I think it's got to be that one, Holiday Nights. I have no good things to say about that episode at all. Scott Bressinger, what kind of an opinion do you have of anti-Trump conservatives such as Steve Schmidt, Charlie Sykes, Michael Steele, etc.? Their seemingly independent approach guarantees them mainstream media attention, even though they've spent years promoting the same harmful policies as Lord Dampnut. Nevertheless, they are in some respects allies to the resistance. For instance, MSNBC's Chris Hayes is happy to speak with them on his show, as they say all the things liberals long to hear. Still, I find myself unable to trust them. What's your take? You know who the anti-Trump conservatives are? They are like Stalin's Soviet Union during World War II. They're people that I'm happy to have on our side, and I'm happy to have pushing in the same direction I'm pushing, but as soon as we push Trump over that cliff, we're going to have to turn and deal with them. Because if they were in charge, they wouldn't be as much of a shit show as Trump, probably. They have a lot more integrity than Trump, and certainly are a lot more competent than Trump, and a lot more informed than Trump, and would not be as politically or culturally embarrassing to have in charge as Trump and his cronies are. But yeah, in terms of policy, they're not really any better. In terms of just personal character and integrity, they would almost have to be better. And it's good that they have shown the spine that most of their fellow Republicans and fellow conservatives have not shown, and have refused to just line up behind Trump. That's to their credit. But no, after we're done dealing with Trump, after he has left office, they're not our friends. They're not our allies. They don't want the same things we want, and their policies would hurt people just the same as Trump's policies would. And they need to be stopped from taking over and enacting their agenda just the same as Trump needs to be stopped. It's just that at the moment, Trump is the greater evil. So yeah, I agree with you. I don't trust them either. I think we need them, and we're happy to have them now in this situation. But afterwards, no. Afterwards, it's not going to be a long-term marriage. Hezekiah Ramirez. Hey Steve, what do you think about the idea that in the last several years television has surpassed film in terms of quality, with such acclaimed series as Game of Thrones, The Sopranos, Mad Men, Breaking Bad, Battlestar Galactica, Sons of Anarchy, and others Do you agree that film has fallen behind? I don't know if film has fallen behind. I just think that priorities are shifting, and perception is shifting, and the ways that most of us get our entertainment are shifting, because streaming services are becoming so popular and are becoming more and more popular and important and influential every day, because cable shows, both on basic cable and on premium stations like HBO and Showtime, have over the last decade especially, have really been setting the bar in terms of quality. I think a lot of people are just more accustomed now to turning to television to look for their quality entertainment, or their more artful, thoughtful entertainment. And because there are specialized networks, or there are streaming services that are willing to give creators more latitude to do what they want to do than they were typically afforded in the good old days when there were just 3 or 4 networks and they were the only real outlets for TV shows. More of us are paying a lot more attention to TV in the last 10, 15 years or so. And even when we watch movies, you know, how often is it that we say, oh, that looks great, I'll wait for when it comes out on Netflix, or I'll wait for when it's available to rent on Amazon or Google Play or whatever. I think we're just far more conditioned now to look at the TV set as the means through which we get our entertainment and our art than going to the movies. So I don't know if it's quite as big of a shift as some have suggested. Some random geek. Hey Steve, let me tell you a story before I ask for your thoughts. A friend of a friend bemoaned the fact that at PAX West this past Labor Day weekend, Bethesda decided at the last minute to pull a display for their upcoming Wolfenstein game, supposedly. The next weekend, Portland's Rose City Comic-Con banned old-school Hydra and Red Skull cosplay, as well as other Nazi-related costumes. He complained it was ridiculous because there are no Nazis. I quickly corrected him to say, no, there are Nazis, and it is a problem. We need to do something about it. We eventually agreed to disagree. So Steve, what are your thoughts on Bethesda supposedly pulling Wolfenstein because of the Nazi thing, or on organizations like Rose City deciding to ban Nazi-related cosplay? I just want to note, as I answer this question, that Agatha Dallaire also asked about the banned Hydra and Red Skull costumes. So that's a question that a couple people were wondering about. And I didn't hear about the Wolfenstein thing until I read your question, so I'm not sure about that. But in general, I honestly don't have a problem with it. If a company on its own decides that it would be inappropriate to have a display that maybe included some Nazi imagery, even if it's in the context of, well, the Nazis are bad guys, we made a game where you killed Nazis and Nazis were in our display. Even if it's in that context, if they decided, you know what, it would be insensitive, or it would send the wrong message, or we just don't want to normalize people seeing Nazi stuff, even if it paints them as the villain, and so we're just not going to do this. I don't see what's wrong with that. Nor do I see what's wrong with a Comic-Con deciding that they don't want to have people dressing up as comic book Nazis at their show. Yeah, the Red Skull and Hydra are the bad guys, of course they are, but do you really want, even if they're dressing up as villains, do you really want people dressed up in Nazi costumes, or pretend comic book Nazi costumes at your event in a cultural context where there are real-life Nazis marching in the streets in the United States right now? We know that most people who would want to dress up as the Red Skull, or who would want to dress up as a member of Hydra, would not intend to be promoting Nazi ideology, or would not want to normalize Nazi imagery, but that would perhaps be the effect nonetheless. And we just don't want to participate in that. We just don't want to host that. Is it really the best thing to allow people to dress up as Nazis, even for fun, in this day and age when we see what real neo-Nazis and people who are affiliated with them, or who share very similar ideologies to them, are doing in the world right now? Is that really the best thing? Plastered Dragon. Steve, I enjoyed your recent video about white people using the N-word and why you feel it is not acceptable. I'm curious to know what you have to say about immortal comedies like Blazing Saddles, or the excellent stand-up routine by Louis C.K., where he discusses this. Can we still watch these works and laugh at them? Can we quote them? As for me, the N-word is certainly not a word I would say in casual conversation, nor would I ever use it as a pejorative or an insult. But I have said it when quoting these works. Does that make me a bad person? I'd love to hear your thoughts. If all I know about you is I've said the N-word when quoting someone, or I've laughed at a comedy routine that included someone saying the N-word, I don't think that indicates that you're a bad person. If that's all I know about you, then I can't come to any conclusion about whether you're a bad person or not. My personal feeling, as I said in the video that I made that you kindly referenced, is that white people shouldn't say it ever. And I have come to that conclusion after many years of evolution on this issue, and I just think white people should not say it, period. If you come to a different conclusion, that's your conclusion to come to. It is difficult, I acknowledge, when you're discussing a work of literature that contains that word, or if you're talking about a comedy routine or a film like Blazing Saddles you mentioned. There are lots of movies where that word appears. And sometimes you run into a difficult situation where you think, I want to talk about this film and I want to talk about it, maybe I want to discuss it analytically, and it's going to be tough to avoid saying the word. And maybe we need to figure out what we're going to do about that. Maybe there are times when we can seek permission to say it or feel like we're justified in saying it. But that's not really up to us as white people. I don't feel like it should be our word. And I've had many black folks, both people who I know and people whose work I just encounter by reading it or watching it or listening to it, who are of that opinion, that the best thing is for white folks to just not consider it our word, you know. And so it's not for us to justify using it or not. It's not for us to come up with reasons why we should be able to use it or not. It's just not our word, you know. And I think there's a lot of wisdom in that. Andrew Hawkins, hey Steve, longtime viewer, first time questioner here. Are informal fallacies really all they're cracked up to be? I was listening to a discussion about it in an episode of The Skeptic's Guide to the Galaxy a while back, where it was explained that an ad hominem fallacy, for example, could be bad reasoning in one situation, but prudence in another, and that one could list off informal fallacies all day to knock down pretty much any political position imaginable, like one that's been on my mind since the Las Vegas massacre. People predictably trotting out, correlation is not causation, when confronted with comparative gun death statistics between countries. Learning to detect fallacious thinking whenever you encounter it, whether it's from you or from someone else, is really important. And I wouldn't say that fallacies should be totally disregarded, but it is very easy to fall into the trap of fallacy hunting and honing in on the appearance of a fallacy as though that completely refutes the argument being made, or because you found the fallacy, therefore you win, or the other person has to retreat and come back when they've scrubbed all the fallacious thinking. I mean, a lot of times fallacies appear in other people's arguments based on the language that they use. And you can imagine if they could just rephrase their argument a little bit, they could make essentially the same point and the fallacy wouldn't be present. So you have to be careful of that sort of thing. I think a lot of people point out fallacies and use it as a shortcut. They use it as a way of, they don't actually have to engage all that deeply with the argument being made. They can just find a fallacy and go, sorry, nope, appeal to popularity. No, go away, off with you and your fallacies, you know. And sometimes a fallacy is critical enough that it can sink an argument. Sometimes an argument is just fallacious and doesn't warrant serious consideration. It just doesn't make sense, or it's built on faulty premises, or it's contradictory, and you just, you know, you can stop there. But other times, it's not nearly as fatal, and focusing on the fallacy instead of the larger argument is a disservice to the argument, and is a way of just shutting down the conversation, or getting to pretend that, no, I was right, I was smart, you used a fallacy, I caught it, I win. You know, there's a lot of that. So yeah, fallacies have their place. But fallacies are not the end-all be-all. Recognizing fallacies is very important, but knowing when calling out a fallacy is the most important thing, and when it might be better to just sort of acknowledge a fallacy but then move beyond it so you can actually go on to have a conversation about the merits of an argument. That's also very important. Joe McClory, if the terrorist massacre in Las Vegas or some other thing down the road did give the nation the will to make one small push to mitigate gun violence, what do you think the first step should be? More registration and enforcement to keep all guns from the worst hands, or bans to keep the worst guns out of all hands? I mean, the problem at this point has been so neglected and so enabled by the gun lobby, and it's so deep and ingrained in American society. It just has tentacles that reach to all different areas of our society. It's really difficult to think what would the first step be. I mean, maybe limitations on gun manufacturing, just stop the flow of guns, new guns into the market. Maybe a very robust, federally backed gun buyback program to get as many guns out of circulation as possible. But, you know, there are other things that need to be addressed too. The first step could be something as easy as, you know, mandatory gun registration, or banning high-capacity magazines, or banning certain types of guns. But after you take that first step, there are 6 or 7 steps you immediately have to take right after that, both to make sure that first step you want to implement can be successful, and also to prevent all these other problems from getting worse because you implemented that first step. So it's such a complicated problem. I do know that the answer is to not continue to do nothing. That's really the best I can do at this point. In fact, I'm so out of ideas that I'm just gonna call an end to this first half of the video and say it's now time for
the lightning round.
Fuck segues. Segues are for chumps anyway. Ahoy Erno, how about you ask me a question for a change? What if I don't? Kaylee Borkwin, now that Discovery has now aired, will you revive your Trek Actually series? Yes, I didn't mean for the Trek Actually series to even be on hiatus this long. I have a Trek Actually video written. It's been written for months. I just need to find time to actually do it. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks I'll find time to actually make a new Trek Actually video and kind of get back rolling with those. Because yes, I love doing those Trek Actually videos, and I'm sure I will have potential topics presenting themselves related to Star Trek Discovery, because I'm finding it a very interesting show so far. Sabrina Lozinas Meredith. Hey Steve, have you ever been to the opera or seen an operetta performed on stage? If not, would you consider attending one? Which one? Yeah, I've never attended one. I've never seen a live opera or operetta. I don't know. We watched a live performance on video in college in my music appreciation class of Mozart's Don Giovanni, and I thought that was really cool and really interesting, and of course I love that music. So, you know, if there was a production of Don Giovanni playing around, I might consider going to that. But yeah, it's like, where do you start? If you've never seen a live opera before, where do you start? I guess whichever one is playing near you. Captain Andy, hey Steve, have you read the He-Man Thundercats crossover comic book yet? If not, any plans to? If yes, any thoughts on it? No, I haven't. I've seen it. I know that it exists, but I haven't read any of it. It's funny. I was in a Barnes & Noble a few weeks ago, and I was looking through the graphic novel section, and there was a He-Man comic there. It wasn't He-Man Thundercats. It was another one. I forget which one it was. But it was a recent like He-Man comic, and I was paging through it, and the art was really interesting. Like they redesigned the characters, and He-Man had pants, and I was like, what's the point of that? You know. So I don't know. That's the best I can do. Kevin Logan, if you could save either Trump or Jeff Sessions from a fire, which sandwich would you make instead? Maybe I would just have a hot dog. I would roast the hot dog in the flames of the fire as Trump and Sessions were burning to death, and I could hear their screams, and it would really add to the flavor, to the smokiness of the hot dogs. I would have a nice, lovely fire roasted hot dog as Trump and Sessions were being immolated in front of me. Oh, that would be nice. That would be really nice. I could go for a hot dog, actually. Kaboom Splat Yuck 2. How would you vegan hot dog, by the way. Vegan hot dog. which there are some good ones. There are some decent. I mean, there's hardly any meat in a real hot dog, so it's not that big of a jump to have a good vegetarian hot dog. Anyway, Kaboom Splat Yuck 2. How would you fix Diana Troy's character? Change her name to Diana would be a good start. I usually don't make fun of people for typos. I'm sorry. Deanna Troy. Well, one thing I might do is either commit to her being a bridge officer and make sure that her function on the bridge is vital and worthwhile, and show her to be a competent bridge officer and make sure that there's a reason that she's there, or commit to her being a counselor and just not have her on the bridge all the time. Give her a role in the show that is built around her role on the ship as the ship's counselor, and have her, have an office or a practice or whatever, and still have her be a character in the show, but don't have her on the bridge all the time. If I can't think of a reason for her to be there, or there's nothing for her to do when she's there other than occasionally go, "He's hiding something, Captain. Thanks. Glad you're here." So I would clarify her role and commit to what she's doing on the ship, why she's there, and build her character and her stories from that. Radical Bacon, what do you want deep down? Oh, damn. I want to try my best, and for that to be enough. I feel like I'm on Inside the Actors Studio. What if God exists? What do you want to hear God say when you walk through the pearly gates? Matt Machado, hey Steve, the day you read this, October 6th, will be my 40th birthday, which means I'll officially be an old fart. Will you wish me a happy birthday? Then tell me how young I look? Also, could you and your subscribers send me preferably cash presents? So I don't know about that last bit. Can't help you there, Matt. But yes, absolutely. Happy birthday. I'm 37. I'll be coming up on 40 in a few short years. And then I will be a fellow old fart. So let's look forward to that together. And you look fantastic. Are you sure you're 40? You sure it's not 20? You're not turning 20? You look amazing. I should look that good when I'm your age. In 3 years. Francois Lacombe, I'm curious, does the small gray teddy bear behind you have a name? Yes, that's her right there, for those of you who have never noticed, and that is Eustacia. Eustacia Vi, named after the character in Thomas Hardy's Return of the Native. Samuel Sturgill, Steve, do women want a man who is like a foot taller than them? What if I like tall women? Does that make me a weirdo? I always just thought the reason most men in a couple are taller than the woman is simply because most men are taller than most women. Well, yeah, that probably is actually the reason. On average, men are taller than women. But no, there's nothing weird about being attracted to tall women. If you happen to find yourself preferentially attracted to tall women, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm way taller than my wife, but my first serious girlfriend was a girl who was exactly the same height as me. And I'm 6'1", just a hair under 6'1". We were eye to eye. She was exactly the same height as me. We were very happy together for 2 years. For most of our relationship, we had a wonderful time and a wonderful relationship. Height was not an issue either way. My wife and I have been together 12 years. She's much shorter than I am. We have a wonderful relationship. We're very happy together. We get along great. The height disparity is not an issue. So no, it doesn't make you weird to want to be with a tall woman when the average is tall guy, short woman. It makes no difference at all. Rainbow Garza, hey Steve, hard scenario question for you. You have been sentenced to life in prison and you can only have access to one of these two books, Mein Kampf or Art of the Deal. Choose wisely, friend. Well, that's actually easy. I would choose Mein Kampf because it's a lot longer than Art of the Deal, more pages, which means it would last a lot longer as toilet paper, which is the only legitimate use for it. So it would serve me better because I would have just the one book and I would get a lot more use out of it, and I would be putting it to its maximum best purpose. I mean, that's the only thing you can do with Art of the Deal too, but then you don't have it for as long. So it's the best balance of my needs and what the book deserves. So yeah, Mein Kampf, toilet paper. That's what I would do. That was the last question. That's it for the lightning round. Time now for the shout out. And some of you probably saw earlier this week I put up a video about this shit show of an atheist conference that was held in Milwaukee recently. And there are a lot of problems both with that particular event and that went into that event and allowed it to even happen that I talk about in that video. But one of the ways we have to deal with those problems is not only directly address them and find a way to deal with people who tolerate or promote intolerance and bigotry and abuse and harassment in atheist circles, but also focus on people who are doing things a different way, who are trying to do something good and trying to do something positive and inclusive and progressive and socially conscious and build a really strong, wonderful, safe, diverse atheist community for all of us. And one such conference that is hopefully going to make its return next year to the Canadian prairie is the Shift to Reason conference, which will hopefully be taking place in Saskatchewan next year, either in Regina or Saskatoon. And the GoFundMe project to raise the budget for that event is my shout out this week. There's a link to it in the description box of this video. You can go to the GoFundMe page. You can learn more about what the Shift to Reason conference is, what they hope to accomplish, what they're going to do with the money, and you can be a part of helping it to happen. The organizers of Shift to Reason, I believe, decided to begin mounting next year's conference in response to the Milwaukee conference. They saw what a horror show it was. They saw what an embarrassment it was. They saw how it put the worst possible face of the atheist movement forward, and they said, we have to respond to this. We have to do something about this. We have to do something better. So hence Shift to Reason 2018. So if you want to support that and become a part of something really, really positive and help to enable people who are trying to drag the atheist community in the right direction, consider supporting Shift to Reason. Follow the link in the description box and do your part to help another really great skeptical atheist conference get off the ground and show the rest of them how it's done. And also, I've mentioned before, there will be an atheist conference in New York City next year. The first major atheist conference ever in New York City, called TAC, the Atheist Conference. I am very happy to be a part of it, to be presenting there, to be part of a panel there. And I will have a lot more information about that for you in the coming days and weeks and months, because tickets for that are supposed to go on sale very soon. When I have that information for you, I will pass it along, and you will not hear me shut up about it between now and July next year when the event actually happens. So stay tuned for information on TAC, because that's another awesome, positive event that is going to be our attempt to show the hate mongers and the abusers and the harassers and the professional shitlords in this community how it's done. We're going to take it back. We're going to do it right. We're going to do it hopefully at Shift to Reason, and we're definitely going to give it our best shot at TAC and also at Skepticon, at Posticon, at AACon, at all of the awesome conventions that take place in this community all around the country and all over the world. So stay tuned. I also want to remind you to tune in to the Lemme Listen podcasts. These are podcasts that are created and co-hosted for the most part by my buddy Jason Harding, and I always want to draw particular attention to the Late Seating podcast of the Lemme Listen podcast lineup, because that's the one that I'm on. That's the podcast that is co-hosted by Jason and me, where we take a fresh look at a classic movie, a movie that has a reputation of either being really good or really bad, and we decide for ourselves whether it deserves whatever reputation it has, and we summarize it, we make fun of it for your entertainment, and usually for ours, although sometimes it's done so that we can deal with the pain because we watched a particularly bad movie. And speaking of that, you can listen to our most recent episode, which is about Jerry Lewis's The Nutty Professor. Oh, the pain. Oh, the hurting. Oh, and you can also get ready for our next episode, which will be the first of our October Halloween-themed episodes, because we'll be reviewing the original Friday the 13th. So that'll be for next week's show. So watch the original Friday the 13th to do a bit of homework and just bone up on that classic horror movie, and you'll get all the jokes and you'll know what we're talking about when you listen to the episode. And in the meantime, you can listen to all of the past episodes of Late Seating and all of the episodes of all of the awesome Lemme Listen podcasts by going to LemmeListenPodcast.com. You won't regret it. That's it, folks. Thanks for watching. Please remember to leave a comment on this video asking me your question for next time. You can ask me anything about anything. Nothing is too serious. Nothing is too silly. I will answer as many of your questions as I possibly can in the next video. In order for this to happen, you have to ask. So please do leave a comment on this video asking a question for the next You Have to Ask video. That's the way it works. Thanks, everybody, for watching. See you next time. Take care. Hey folks, one more thing before I go. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. And also please consider helping me to make more videos like this one by supporting this channel through Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/Steve Shives to become a patron of this channel. Thanks once again for watching, and I'll see you next time.